guys, welcome back to a new video. I cut my finger with my own fingernail, I don't know, so I'm bleeding at the moment. So what was the first time to be alive in the whole history is the question for today. My name is Mats, we are the Hey Squad. Subscribe my channel if you're new here, and let's go with that video.
What was the worst time in history? The Time magazine decided it was the year 2020.
Okay, because of the COVID-19 lockdown and that stuff.
It seems to me that the Times magazine should have hired a competent historian. Yes, it was the time of bitter political disputes and riots, which deteriorated into violence and, above all, the pandemic that threw us off.
Of course, the year 2020 was not perfect, but actually, in comparison with like medieval or back then, there were only war, diseases, no hygiene. They were like, you cannot it's very difficult to compare, but in whole general, but I think the last, I don't know, 50 years cannot be that bad. Of course, there were some exceptions, but we hadn't any world peace. In the whole history, there weren't any world peace. There were always wars and that stuff. So yeah, it's very difficult, I think, but I think back then it was
balance. Each one of us has faced disturbing thoughts. It felt like we met this planet at a very strange time in our life. But believe me, it wasn't the worst. In this video, I'll give you the opportunity.
It wasn't the worst. Exactly. Yeah. And it was annoying, this COVID-19 thing, but actually I nearly forgot it.
To wake up in other more challenging periods so as not to judge the year 2020 in the heat of the moment. You'll find out, what is life like without the sun? How can the absurd one-man rule destroy the fate of thousands of people? And what was the worst year in human history? You woke up very early to sharpen your spears for mammoth hunting. You are a representative of the Clovis culture, and you lived during the Younger Dryas in North America.
10,800 before Christus. Christ? I don't know what you say in English. BC, okay.
Suddenly, you see a strange star with a long white tail in the sky. It keeps increasing day by day. You live at the time when people, of course, don't know a thing about space yet, and they're unaware that this strange star is actually a huge asteroid composed of fragments.
You live in caves. You have to hunt animals to have like food every day. You have to spend hours every day just to have food for that day, for that evening, and the next day it begins again. Nowadays, 2020, even if there was like some wars or COVID-19, you can like order something and you have like food and everything within minutes. So you cannot compare it.
Fragments up to 4 kilometers in diameter. And then this deadly object crashes into the ice sheets of North America and Europe. The energy released at that moment triggers a series of fires. You grab your wife, your kids, and run away from the fire.
Yeah, it looked exactly like this, yeah.
Huge amount of ash from burned, dense continental forests is mixed with an astronomical amount of water vapor released into the atmosphere from within the Earth-impacting asteroid. This black veil covered the sun. So your journey continues in the dark. Glacial water starts melting. You can see the waves 200 feet high rolling through the north. Nowadays, they would have fully covered the Tower Bridge. Only a short time ago, you were running away from fire, and now you're
really hard times when nature was like crazy, guys. And yeah, when you have only darkness, this is very depressing, and it's like scientifically proved that when you have no sun, that you get depressive. Actually, so people in warm countries are happier than in like cold countries, and so there were always like things which were not good. So actually, just be happy with your situation.
Afraid that you and your family will be swept away by the waves. Meltwater rushes into the Atlantic. Ocean currents will stop for decades, plunging the world.
Imagine to wake up every day and to be in fear that the nature could destroy your home every day. Okay, there is like a possibility as well, like every day today, but it's like a minimum. The chances are not high, but they were high. Imagine to wake up and you can lose everything. Or your family member can die like every day because of diseases or some wild animals. Imagine just this.
Back into the Little Ice Age, which will last for 1,000 years. Now you're a homeless nomad who wanders in search of at least some surviving plants or animals to feed his family.
Living in the cold.
Or should I say, those who didn't die on the way. And if in ancient times people's lives were threatened by space phenomena, with the development of society, universal damage could be caused by people themselves. The worst time for political reasons. You wake up early again because...
Okay, that was nature, and now the worst time for political reasons.
You're a poor Chinese farmer in the late 20th century. You must go to work and earn points. Many years later, such a remuneration...
Oh, I have seen this movie. It was on Netflix, I guess, like Black Stories, or how you call it. That was a horrible imagination. That you have to collect points in like spinning wheels to make like power. That is like the power machine. So the other people in this house have like power, and you have to collect points, and with these coins you can like buy some food. And when you're not productive or do something for society, you have no points, and then you will actually die, or you get no food or something like that. That was very, very dark story.
System will be shown in the Black Mirror series as a version of events in the near dystopian future. And the viewers won't even know that such things already existed in the past. The Chinese leader, Chairman Mao Zedong, developed an economic and social plan for rapid modernization. Wages and money are replaced by work points. There's no private property either.
No private property, no money, just work points. This is heavy.
Now on, everything belongs to the commune. Millions of skilled farmers get transferred from farming to manufacturing. There's nobody to harvest crops, and they start to rot. You're desperately trying to save the harvest, and then Mao orders to exterminate all the sparrows to stop them from eating the cereal seeds. You are shocked by such a foolish political reform because once the sparrows are exterminated, there's no one to exterminate locusts. You can't...
Oh, of course. Yeah, the nature is just a whole circle. You need that animal for that and that and that. It's the same with like sharks in the ocean, yeah? Many people are afraid of sharks, but actually they're so important for our ecosystem. And that, yeah, like the amount of fishes in the ocean, they regulate like that. So they're very important for the whole natural circle. And every animal has their part in that circle. So, and you need that birds, of course, yeah? Otherwise it will look like this. Just think about it.
To alone bear the burden of stopping the spread of these pests. You have nothing to eat, and eventually, you, along with the other 55 million victims of Mao's thoughtless policies, end up starving to death. Staying at home during...
But slavery in general, like in Rome back then, when they, or in Egypt when they built the pyramids, the slavery and that stuff. This is insane. Slavery, World War II in Germany, what happened there? There was such horrible times. And New York Times in the beginning said 2020 was the worst year. Come on. Maybe it wasn't the best year, but to compare it to like other times, you cannot even compare that, man.
Quarantine is nothing compared to the Mao era. At any time, we could order...
Yeah, to compare it is like disrespectful. To compare quarantine, oh, you have to stay at home, you cannot leave the house. Yeah, of course, that was very annoying, and some people say it was not necessary and that stuff. This is okay, I don't want to discuss that, okay? But to compare this time to this is not fair.
Order food delivery and have a quiet, safe rest in our apartments, which nobody intended to take away from us.
Oh, and I have the same vacuum robot, guys. I have exactly the same vacuum robot. Guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. My name is Mats. We are the Hey Squad, guys. Subscribe my channel, thank you.
Imagine this. You wake up on the North American coast where you live with your tribe. Some strangers approach you. they don't bother using any polite ways to ask to get some supplies from you. And when they get rejected, one of them threatens to deprive you of the moonlight. The next night, the moon seems to be stolen from the sky. When the strangers come again, you share food with them. You just don't know that you're dealing with Christopher Columbus. He's very good at astronomy, so he managed to fool you because there was a lunar eclipse that day. This man's visit triggered a series of horrifying events. When Columbus discovered America instead of Asia, all of Spain rushed to this exotic country. The Spanish were quickly followed by Portugal and then France, England, and Holland. Thus began the colonization of America. Finding no initial resistance from the local population, Europeans behaved like aggressors, killing and enslaving Native Americans.
Yes, you cannot even imagine what happened there. This is why do people do that? I'm so horrified about human behavior.
The Spanish conquerors were particularly
and, currently as well, but in history especially, because they were
cruel. They looted and burned the villages of the settlers and then
human life hadn't the value that it's today than today. So human life was not important. People killed people, they did slavery and that stuff because they really thought, okay, my life is more worth than your life and has more value. And you can be my slave. Yeah, it was a very selfish time. People are still selfish. We have like a more open mind, and we have like a better view on the whole situation, and compare it to this time.
You managed to escape from the invaders' attack, but in a few days, people in the tribe started getting a fever, feel nauseous, and suffer from whole body aches. The thing is that after contact with European settlers,
they got diseases they hadn't before, because these diseases didn't exist in these countries. Because they were so far away. There was a big ocean between them. And of course they got diseases they hadn't before, and the immune system wasn't ready for that.
The entire tribes that had been isolated from the world for years started getting exposed to new diseases such as smallpox. You're dying in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, knowing that your tribe and culture were...
Some people came there, some guests, new people you haven't seen before, and they took everything from you. They took your family, like everything you had. They did slavery with you, and you got diseases you haven't had before. So that was such horrible. There was an invasion of strangers, and they didn't want something good from you.
Destroyed by the conquerors. The only thing that might be more dreadful is times of large-scale military conflicts when there were great losses on all sides. Mm-hmm. You wake up.
Wars in general are horrifying. No thing. But back then, it was more aggressively. Today's war is like with like drones and many technical stuff and weapons. Back then, you killed people with your sword, and you had it like in your hand, and you killed somebody. He was directly in front of you. There is a movie who showed it very well. It's called All Quiet on the Western Front. You know, that World War I movie. I like that really, really much, and that showed how aggressively it is, that there is like a father from a family in front of you and you have to kill him. But not with a button or something, no. With like, he's directly in front of you and there happened nothing, yeah? Many people were killed, and they had nothing on an empty land with nothing, no bushes, nothing, just pure empty, sad ground and earth. So, and back then there were not even that weapons. There were only like swords, maybe some bows and arrows, maybe. But they were so aggressive. They were on a field and they killed like, this is, you cannot imagine, only blood and pieces of your body laying on the ground that had to be so horrible. You cannot imagine. Don't get me wrong, war in general is horrible, but this is something different. Okay, guys? We make the shout out for today in every video. I do one shout. This is a very serious video. You know, guys, in general, I like it to be very happy and to do like funny stuff, but sometimes it's very interesting to think about that topics as well. So shout out goes out to Chris in this video. If you want to get a shout out in the next video, just write a kind or a funny comment and maybe you will get a shout out. And guys, let me promise, now it's very easy to get a shout out, but in a few months or in a year, maybe it will be difficult, because I will keep uploading on this channel. Yeah, I don't care how much views a video get, I will continue. The process won't stop, and of course it's a matter of time. When we will do it. So if you want to belong to the Hey Squad, my name is Mats. This is the channel Hey Mats, you know it already. If you want to belong to the Hey Squad, subscribe my channel. Very glad and very thankful about your support. Okay, the light is like okay, and maybe in a few months or years you can say, okay, I was there under the first 25,000 subscribers. I watched his videos when he had like 500 views on a video. Think about that.
But this time, in the middle of the night, you and those of like mind conspired to set fire to a Catholic church at midnight tonight. You're a student at Charles University in Prague, and instead of gaining education, you have to fight for your religion and freedom in the military conflicts between the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation and the rest of Europe. It all started with a series of religious struggles between...
This is the war, I mean, on the street. He killed him.
Protestants and Catholics in southern Germany.
Some heads are rolling around the floor. Oh, there is a hand laying. Oh, a leg.
Only a third of the population survived the war, which eventually...
Two-thirds died. You have to imagine, everybody lost anybody, like a family member or good friends, and you have to live with that. And there weren't such things as depression or psychologists or something. Nobody cared about you. Your family died, your best friends died, you're alone, nobody cares about you.
Eventually lasted for 30 years. It took over a century for many areas to recover from the effects of economic and social decline. According to various estimates, the total losses ranged from 5 to 8 million people. But the worst part is that you might not experience the honor of dying in battle, but instead die of typhus or dysentery or bubonic plague. There are data that in Germany it killed more people than the battles did. You might as well wake up in the first half of the 20th century. During that period, the world was shattered by 2 world wars within 30 years. Genocide and massacres were committed throughout the world in the name of political ideologies, resulting in the death of hundreds of millions of people. Even if you were a veteran...
Since there are humans, there are wars and battles. We cannot live in peace. This is unbelievable. We cannot live in peace.
Who managed to survive the First World War, you could end up dying of the Spanish flu pandemic. It claimed the lives of up to 100 million people.
Imagine these amounts, these numbers. 100 million. This is more like actually in whole Germany people are actually living.
5% of the world population. But the most devastating conflict ever witnessed in history is the Second World War. It was the limit to human cruelty. In addition to military actions, which obviously claimed many lives, Nazis were ordered to exterminate all Jewish people, as well as Roma.
Yeah. For those who don't know, I'm German, and this is some part of our history I do not like, actually.
Some Slavic people, Jehovah's Witnesses, the LGBTQ plus community representatives, and people with mental and physical disabilities. During those years, the number of deaths reached 18 million people. But the aggression came not only from Nazis. On August the 6th, 1945, America dropped an atomic bomb on innocent civilians of Hiroshima in Japan. It exploded with an energy of 15,000 tons of TNT. The bomb...
There is 102... There is like This is like 150,000. There's you have to remove 1 0. just saying.
Demolished and burned about 70% of the buildings. The explosion killed about 40,000 people, and those who survived suffered.
How many?
The explosion killed about 40,000 people.
40,000, and there is like 140,000. What is your problem with numbers? So, but it doesn't matter if like 40,000 or 140,000. This is too much. This is definitely too much, and this is horrible.
And those who survived suffered from chronic diseases, cancer, and other effects of radiation for the rest of their lives. Yeah. Therefore, when you went to sleep during the Second World War, you could never be sure you'd wake up. Your house could be blown up, burned, or you could be shot while asleep. But still,
you never know if you wake up the next day, if you, I don't know, if you get escorted, followed by some other people, or you're killed, or your house will bomb away. I don't know. So there's a lot going on, and yeah, peace is the most important thing in humanity. When you can just live in peace. Yeah.
What's the worst time to be alive in history? The final event I'm going to tell you about is very similar to the disaster I started with. The worst morning in history looks like this. You wake up in Iceland at early 5:36.
Okay, now he makes a whole day out of it. Okay, you wake up in Iceland in the year 536.
And you can't see anything around you because of a thick fog. At that time, the sky above Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia got covered by such dark fog that it blocked the sun for a year and a half. That's how the Dark Age began. The thing is that in Iceland, there was a catastrophic volcanic eruption which spread ash across the northern hemisphere. But you don't know that, and you think the tragedy is some dire omen of heaven, as if a higher power is punishing you for something. You're trying to bundle up because the Earth's average temperature dropped sharply between 1.5 and 2.5.
Yeah, okay, it's very cold, and yeah, it's darkness. It's not that nice, but I think the more battles and wars are the most horrible thing in humanity. Definitely.
Celsius. And so this went on for 18 months. Thus began one of the coldest...
The darkness, this is hard too. I don't want to live during that time, of course. Of course, don't get me wrong. We have to compare it here. It's hard. Like, everything is not nice. But you have to we have to compare.
Decades in the last 2,300 years. Drought and famine spread everywhere. Suddenly, you get sick. It feels like you're burning. You're weak. You're dizzy. The pain is splitting your head to pieces. You keep fainting. You're thrashing around in bed. You're coughing up blood, and you're experiencing strange visions. This is how plague will take your life. The plague had been striking people for 15 or 18 major waves of the pandemic. That disease killed about 50 million people.
50 million, the plague. 50 million. Unimaginable.
Corpses covered the streets like carpets. What do you say about the pandemic period now? Are we really living during the worst years?
No, bro, no, definitely not.
In fact, people have never lived longer, better, safer, or richer than nowadays. In the 18th century, the average life expectancy of the world's population was only 29 years. And today, on average, we can make it to 70. Just for the last 25 years, 1/7 of humanity has been saved from extreme poverty due to economic growth. More people than ever before have enough food. Modern medicine made significant progress.
Of course, not everything is good and fine in the current world. Of course not, but we are definitely in the best times ever. So, yeah.
And the spread of democracy made the world freer and safer. This stunning leap is the greatest achievement in human history. Write in the comments your reasons why you think the time we live in is the best, and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, that video was great, guys. Subscribe my channel. I already said it like a few times. My name is Mats. We are the Hey Squad, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for your support, and see each other in the next video tomorrow. Bye bye.